Okay, can I just say you are the best TV FaceTime show partner in the world because you are so forgiving of every screw up I make, and I can't thank you enough. So
Oh, heavens, good golly, we're just having fun.
we are.
So, how was your weekend?
Well, I had an interesting weekend, a fun weekend. I was busy with the holidays. We had our, as you know, company Zoom holiday party on Friday, and I popped my little bottle of champagne to do a toast with everybody. And the cork went on the floor and I didn't think about it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, where's the cork? And I'm looking and I'm looking.
Oh, no, a dog ate it.
Yes. Got about half of it. And then all weekend long, she's sick. I'm thinking,
Or she is. She ate a cork.
Exactly. I'm taking her out like every 2 hours because she's got to go, and it's not pretty, folks. And yes, but she was better this morning. Although I panicked. Part of the reason I'm unprepared for our show today is I took her out before the show because I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I think we're over the cork dilemma. So that's good news. The other fun thing, I have to give a shout out to my friend, Kathy Ochab, my friend and Rodan & Fields, my Rodan & Fields sales consultant, who sent me little samples of face makeup to put okay. So I was testing them last night, and my dear husband indulged me. Honey, which side looks better, left or right? I'm trying to get that. So he says, well, this one looks better. I said, oh, really? And he says, yeah, it hides the wrinkles more. God love him.
But it was good feedback.
It was good feedback, yes. So I'm wearing it today, but of course, it's odd, so you can't tell how great it is. And I also got my hair cut. Shout out to my dear hair salon friend, Laura Coleman at DJ Salon Ding Ding, who did my hair over the weekend. So I feel like a new woman. And by the way, since we're all doing business shout outs, your sister and her organizing business and everybody, Laura's husband is Dueling Pianos, who did a client party for me last year. He's fantastic. And he's figured out how to do it on Zoom. So if people want to do private parties, that's a possibility. So anyway, I'm in the new woman. I got the new makeup. I got the new hair. We're unprepared for the show, but I'm looking good, don't you think?
I do. I think so. I love your tree in the background. So this is my tree. All decorated
with Pat's, right? We decided that because
I can't do anything more because it would be only destroyed.
So
let's talk real estate. Today's show is a little different. We're going to be talking real estate news. What's going on in the world of real estate? Are we not?
Yes, we are. We've got several different topics to cover today, and
I'm going to share my screen.
Wait, you're going to do that, or are you going to do some stats quick?
Oh, do some stats quick.
Okay. So we talked about December stats already. Here we go. Now, does this take up the whole screen?
No, it takes up a half of it, but it's good. Take our names off.
Oh, golly. Okay. Yes, you always have to tell me to do that too.
Yes. Good.
That did it?
No, that made a bigger screen. It didn't take off our names, though. Not yet.
Bear with me. Here we go.
Woo! There we go. Okay, good.
Okay. All right. So we always talk about number of homes on the sale and months supply. And this is kind of a repeat of last week, but I'll just say it again quickly. We're seeing the number of homes on the market dropping off. That's because we're in the holiday season and people are taking a break and getting back on the market in the spring. The month supply should be less. I think it said 5 months for the area. What did it say? Yeah, 4.5. And that's not as much a reflection of how quickly we're selling as it is that there are fewer homes on the market to sell through. So it's a pretty good market overall. Not as good downtown still, but nonetheless, all is well. And that's all I have. I'm just going to at that point, stop and let it go to you.
Okay.
I know that looks ugly. Hold on. Bear with me. Stop sharing. There we go. Okay, now we're back.
Okay, well, here comes my share. Let's see if I can do that correctly. Application window. There we go. I'm getting better at this.
Oh, look at you creating all of that. Nice.
So, how nice is this?
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
I sure can.
So, Chicago's latest news. There's been a lot of real estate news. So, what's up? First, we're going to talk about the Vista Tower, then a mansion on Astor Street, and all of real estate and how that works, especially fancy properties. Lincoln Park Church incorporates condos, and the ways that the city is trying to chill gentrification in particular neighborhoods rather than citywide.
Good.
So first of all, the tower. You've seen it going up. I think it's great looking, if not just. It's heavy, but I think it's also great looking. What do you think of it?
I love it. And you know what's funny is before we went on the air, I was looking for a picture just like this because the other article. Are you going to talk about that? About how they had to put in the windscreen thing?
Oh, I'll talk about all of that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. I've been absolutely taken by this building from the moment it was in plans, and they had a lovely showroom before it was built to look at. It was like the first time I ever saw these beautiful drone shots of your view. And I just love driving north on Lakeshore Drive, and it just seems to sit beautifully right in that middle spot between the buildings in Lakeshore East, and the way the sun glints off the glass is just lovely.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's going to be the third tallest behind the Willis Tower, Sears Tower, Willis Tower, and Trump Tower. It's 101 stories and almost 1,200 feet tall, which is it's hard to visual. I mean, just to say. I mean, it just seems so enormous, and yet it doesn't feel so big to me because of the three buildings that have been sort of welded together to make it strong. It's designed by Jeannie Gang, who is one of Chicago's own architects, who's gotten worldwide. Chicago's for architects. Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, and a bunch of the guys who came out of there. But Jeannie Gang has her own Studio Gang architects, and she's doing great. This is the tallest building that has been designed by a woman, which I did not.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that. She also did the Aqua, which is in that same little area, which is a really cool building too. So she's really making an impact in Chicago real estate and the skyline.
Yeah. So the structure is 3 interconnected towers, and they call them stems. And they're, as you see, 3 the heights. They didn't put the tallest in the middle. They put it off to the west. And those 3 stems use alternating truncated pyramidal. I said that hopefully right. Pyramidal shapes called frustrums. Do you see how they work in the picture? Does that picture show how those are? They're not full pyramids, but they go in and out. If they continued on, they would become full pyramids.
Yeah.
And I think it's very effective, like Aqua, as you said, to give it an undulating shape that, while it's static, it looks like it's moving. It feels very fluid, and that's her style. Whoopsie. So the thing that I find really interesting, which all of the architects who've built these super buildings has found, is we are a city with a lot of wind. And I remember when I worked at 35 West Wacker, which is only under 50 stories tall, how I would be sitting in my office and my door on windy days would open and close and open and close. So you really do feel the wind in those buildings, but they addressed it with the way they built the building, but they also have those blow-through floors, and you can see it in the picture. Can you see that up there?
Yeah.
That is so that wind goes through.
Right.
And then they put 6 water tanks with over 400,000 gallons of water on the building to hold it down.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So, okay, so here's why it's important. Here's why it's interesting. They changed the name from Vista Tower when the developers lost one of their funders, which was the Wanda Group from China. Wanda.
Right. In fact, it was originally called the Wanda Vista. I mean, that's what I always referred to it as. But now, yeah, Wanda's gone. St. Regis is in. Thank goodness, because I was really worried about that building.
Well, we were not only worried about it, but so first of all, the condos in this building go for a lot of money.
$1,000 a foot.
Well, and there are several, I don't know how many, that have sold that are under contract because they haven't been delivered yet. They haven't closed for $10 million or plus. Mm-hmm. And a couple, too, of those owners, when they lost Wanda Group, decided to sue to get out from under their contracts because they no longer wanted the apartments because they figured this isn't this fancy great tower that it was going to be. Because Wanda was going to put in a 5-star hotel. It was going to be ultra luxurious. The the condos would get, the benefits of having that kind of amenity in the building, et cetera. And so the fact that the developer, Magellan Development, has been able to get St. Regis is a very good thing. And it may help keep the purchasers of these very expensive apartments in line. So that's why it's news, is that may affect the ability to sue.
One of the Alinea Restaurant Group. I mean, who wouldn't love to have one of those in your building, huh?
Well, we don't know who it is. We don't know what they're going to put in there, but whatever it is, it's going to be great and unusual. The second story is this mansion on Astor Street at 1442 Astor has been on the market for 7 or 8 years. It was friends of mine when I was growing up, their home, and they've owned the home since 1950 something.
Mm-hmm.
It is a beautiful home with a garden, but it hasn't been upgraded probably in all that time. It went on the market initially for $8 million back in, I think, 2012, 2013. And it finally sold for just under $2 million, $230,000. Mm-hmm. So effectively 25% of the original price. And what was interesting about it, why I bring this to your attention, is it took so long to sell. The owners recognized that whoever bought it was going to have to put a ton of work into it. It has this, can you see to the left? I think it's the left.
Yeah.
You see that lower addition that they added? So the owners commissioned Chip Wise's architecture firm to come up with a plan of how you would fill in that space and make it either a separate house or an addition that would fit in there. So gave them plans and it still didn't sell. So the seller hired or decided to work with Supreme Auctions, which does auctioning of high-end real estate around the country.
Right. And
they had a no reserve plan. And I think that was going to be in August, late July or early August, that they were going to, or maybe it was September, that they were going to sell it. And it didn't sell.
Right.
With no reserve. So I asked people who know why they think that didn't work. Apparently, there was a requirement that you put down some enormous amount of money. I think it was $100,000 to even be able to bid. So that turned people off. The person who bought it did not buy it through auction. They took it off the auction, put it back on the MLS, and somebody came and paid for it, bought it. So, but what's really interesting is auctions tend to work in first of all, work well for luxury properties elsewhere. It just hasn't worked here. So examples of where it has not worked in the Chicago area are Michael Jordan's Highland Park home.
Right.
Which is still on the market after about 9 years. I mean, it's too big. Some developer should get it for some smaller amount of money and break it up.
Right.
You can. 1316 North Dearborn went on the market with a minimum bid of $3.3 million. Just anecdotally, it started its journey at $6.4 million. So they decided to do an auction with a minimum bid of 3.35, but it sold before auction when somebody came in with a takeout bid of 3.775 million. So, which was smart. I would have probably counseled my seller, if you take it to auction, you might get nothing or you might get less. So this was a good idea. I don't know if you know, there's a modernist house on the corner of Lincoln Avenue and Dickens. And
yeah, very familiar. Yeah.
Comes out to a point at Cleveland.
Yeah.
Well, that was designed by Larry Booth in probably the mid-70s. It was owned by a real estate broker and her husband, who was a developer. And when they were decided to sell it years later, and it was earlier this year, they decided to auction it off because what was interesting about the property is it was zoned for either residential or commercial. So they didn't know what the highest and best use, what use it would be, you could get this property for. Would it do better as a commercial building? Would it do better as a home? So they didn't know what it would be. So they decided to auction off the property. And somebody came in before the auction and bought it, did another takeout bid beforehand, and they plan to preserve it as a residence and preserve the Larry Booth design. So I thought that was interesting.
That's a great idea. Before you go further, I want to share with you too. This, by the way, I was just showing pictures of the home on Astor. I'm going to stop sharing that right now, and I want to share something else. Stop screen, share screen. This one, which I thought, while we're on the topic of auctions, I thought this was a fabulous talking point. This is the Lake Bluff one. Do you remember reading about that one?
Oh, yeah.
So this one ended up selling for 13% of its original list price. It had $98,000 a year worth of property taxes. It's got 262 feet of frontage in Lake Bluff on Lake Michigan. And look at that. How fun is that? So here's the deal.
Final sale price.
Pardon?
What's the final sale price?
The final sales price was just $2 million something. I have to look it up. But
wow.
Yeah.
That funicular or whatever.
Isn't that the coolest? Well, so here's the deal. You see this right here?
Basketball court.
The owner tried to get the taxes reduced by converting this court into a church so that he could get nonprofit status. So it didn't work. And the court overruled it and said that could not be the church. And yeah, you still have to pay your taxes. But what happened was when it went into foreclosure and Citibank had it, the realtor then went and got the taxes reduced to $61,000. And it was after that, you know how people only pay so much. So by the time they reduced the price, got the taxes reduced, it got to the place, you know what? I think if they'd waited 6 more months between COVID and everybody wanting to go.
Oh my God.
Would have, but isn't that ridiculous? What a cool place. So I thought that was just an interesting story. I do have to say to you though, that I'm not sure I agree with the, what I want to say, the auction's not working. And I know that Dennis said that in his article, that he said auctions don't work. But here's my theory on it. So I don't know what happened with the Supreme auction on Astor, but I think it was the one on Cleveland, or the one that you were just talking about. Didn't they see it on auction, but that they actually came in with a good high price, so it never went to auction, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes. These are all yes. Yeah. And the thing is, if you, and this comes back to something you and I talk about all the time. If you price it right, it's going to sell.
Right.
What the people on Lincoln and Dickens and were thinking is, I don't know how to price this, because it could go either way. It could either be commercial, and for that reason, let's price it as, let's do an auction so that whoever and broadcast it, advertise it, so whoever is interested will come in. So it turned out great. Somebody came in and bought it, and I think the family wanted it to stay a residence. So, yeah. Okay, so let's go to the next piece of news. Look at this. So there's a Lincoln Park church of, what do you call it? I'm so bad at this. Let me get my notes on it. It's not Scientology, Christian Science. Sorry. It's morning and I have the caffeine has not gone in.
A little bit of a difference between Christian Science and Scientology.
Of course, I know, but the word science is in both.
Science is in it. I'll give you
that. So the church had put this property, and it's on the corner of Wrightwood and Pine Grove. So right there in the heart of the cutest part of Lincoln Park, I think. So they put the church up for sale and no one would buy it. And there was always some risk, if somebody did buy it, that it would get, the property would get landmarked. So there was a lot of, I don't know that I want to go take this thing. So now what has happened is this congregation has partnered with a developer to take this space and build within it these condos.
Right.
So it was built in 1901. It's domed, as you can see, and it's got it's columned. It's Beaux-Arts style.
Beautiful structure.
And two other developers. So they approached a bunch of developers, and two made plans for the site that the congregation did not support, and nor did the alderman, Michelle Smith.
Mm-hmm.
The congregation was thinking about, or actually a community group was thinking about turning it into a Lincoln Park cultural center, but nobody wanted that. But instead they've worked with Booth Hansen, and my notes don't have the name of the developer in here. But to build within it, as you
Ogden Partners.
Yeah, but what'd you say?
Ogden Partners.
Exactly. But as you can see, they're keeping it. Do you see my my pointer right here? Does my pointer show up? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right here is over here on this side, but right here, the entrance to the congregation is going to continue. So they'll go in through this entrance for services, for the Christian Science services, and the condo entrance will be on Wrightwood.
Okay.
And so I think that, and look at how tall it is. It's going to be lovely. They're going to have 26 residential units. They expect that they'll be priced in the range of $1 million to $2 million. Now, the thing that I find interesting, and something you will not be surprised by, Anne, is that Ogden Partners does not yet know whether they're first going to offer them as apartments,
right,
and then sell them as condos. It's going to depend on what financing they can get from developers, actually right, from banks, because sometimes it's easier to get a loan to build apartments rather than condos.
Right.
So
Couple things. It happened before, probably 1987, before I got in real estate, but St. Michael's,
mhm.
was that part of a rectory or something when they did those, or was that built brand new?
No, I think some of it was a school associated with the church,
Uh-huh.
and some of it was new. So
Okay.
it's sort of half and half.
Okay. It's not unprecedented that churches are made out of,
No.
or condos, homes are made out of churches. With the declining churches, it used to be we'd have a church on every corner almost. So knowing what we were going to talk about this, I went into the MLS and searched for remarks and found all these different cool properties in Chicago that have been made out of churches. And for this right here, I just did the ones made out of the churches themselves, not the ones out of the rectories. But there are some really cool properties. Here's one, 1300 Artesian. I thought here's the floor plan. How cool is that?
I can't see the floor plan. We can only see the...
Because I'm only sharing the application. I got you. Thank you for telling me that. Okay. So, well, anyway, the point is they're all over the city.
Yeah.
There's one at 921 Hoyne, 1847 Kedzie, Lincoln Park at 3252 Kenmore here.
Yep.
Just beautiful. So, gosh, I almost think we should do a whole thing on church properties because there are some very cool things.
Well, part of the reason of keeping the congregation involved is there was some concern that if the congregation wasn't going to be there and if they didn't have this space, that the city would require that the building keep this domed roof. That they would somehow get some landmark status that would require keeping the domed roof. And as you can see, they're letting that go because no one can really see it when you're walking on the street.
Right.
So I think it's going to look good. And Booth Hanson has done a number of buildings.
They do a lovely job. Right.
All over that area. So this will fit right in and be great looking, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So speaking of churches, of course, people probably know that 2550 Lakeview was built around the chapel.
Yeah.
You can still get to the chapel.
Mother Cabrini Chapel, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you can still go in there.
Yes. Yes.
Even with COVID. I mean, not with COVID, but during the COVID era.
During the COVID.
I'm sorry. So the city has now, the last bit of news is the city is planning some ordinances to cool gentrification. So the way they do that normally, or in the past, they've developed all different kinds of ordinances, either to downsize neighborhoods, that you can't have more units for
Down zone, right?
Block, downsizing a neighborhood. So you can't take a home and build an apartment. So creating more apartments without getting zoning approval. Now they're trying to save certain neighborhoods right now, including Pilsen and the area around the 606 Trail, from taking what was 2 flats and 3 flats and turning them into fancy single-family homes.
Right.
Pilsen is particularly hot. And so at first, they were thinking about landmarking huge portions of Pilsen, which scared the pants off of the people in Pilsen, because then they're like, well, then we're stuck with it as it is. What we'd like to do is have it develop naturally and not. So what they're trying to do is, and this is only right now a thought. It's not
Hasn't passed city council yet.
And there's going to be a hearing this week. I think it may even be tomorrow or Wednesday, where they're going to talk about it. So there were they had to bring to a vote, apparently, the ordinance that was going to landmark all of Pilsen or huge swaths of Pilsen, and then vote it down, because if you apparently, which I didn't know, if you create an ordinance and don't, and in committee and don't bring it to a vote, it passes after a certain period of time, it passes automatically. So they had to bring it to a vote to vote it down, so it didn't happen as a matter of law. So they've got some work to do, but that's planning to come. There are a bunch of neighborhoods that probably would have benefited from this, like Andersonville, but they didn't do that. Lincoln Square, North Center.
Right. So I'm going to share with you this, hold on one second. The article that talked about this talked about a particular property, saying that this property here,
yep,
this is the 2-flat that is currently today for sale for $279. The problem is you can't buy it for $279 and make it into a single family home if they do this. But meantime, there are homes nearby that are selling single family homes brand new for $800,000. So that's the problem here, is these people want to go in. And if you look at like 905 Cullerton, there are single family new construction properties that haven't been renovated. They're new construction homes where it was torn down, but you'd have to buy the property for less than $279 in order to do that. So in this case, somebody would want to take this property, renovate it, keeping the structure, and make a single family home. And they're saying you can't do that. Yeah. Did that make sense? Did I make sense?
The concern is not just, the concern is affordable housing. And
right.
A lot of
right. That's the point of the whole thing. And as you said, around the 606, it's a big deal too, because of all the gentrification around the 606 trail. So I thought they passed that around the 606, where they actually said within a few blocks either way. You think not?
No, what they've done is they've put a moratorium.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
On this, and the moratorium's about to expire.
Okay. Now that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the news. I mean, it's a lot of news right now.
Yeah.
So do we have time for the private home of the week?
Sure.
Here's a hidden gem, private network home of the week. I thought this was sort of great. It's 154 West Hubbard Street. Interestingly, these are the penthouse level, the 6th floor. Interestingly, so this is on the private network. Unit 603 is on the public network, and they're at the same price. And one's a little more modern, but because I chose this because, so you'll see almost 1.5 million, 3 beds, 2 baths. HOA is about $500 a month. I couldn't see, so I used the public network.
Okay.
Taxes are $26,670 a year, but I chose it largely because of the beautiful rooftop deck, as you'll see in a second. Who doesn't like a timber loft? This is for Anne.
Especially penthouse when you have nobody above you.
You have nobody above you. Look at how soaring those ceilings are. Look at the beautiful wood. Look at that kitchen. Look at that vent over that stove.
Open floor plan, new kitchen. Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's a fabulous unit.
So then you have this little bit of balcony outdoor space where people hang out while you're cooking. And then look at that. You got covered space. That looks like a TV, so you can hang out there. That is all your own space. And
gorgeous.
This is it. Look at that floor plan. Wouldn't you love to have that hang out there?
That's like my ideal floor plan, I have to tell you. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I do notice that the bedroom, when you in the back, has no windows.
Yes. And so they're going to have, likely this wall will have sort of a either glass or something at the top to allow light to come in.
I'd do French doors for an office there, right? Wouldn't that be great?
Close off this wall and put French doors here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
That way I could work while Tom cooks for me.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like that one. Thank you for sharing that with us.
All righty.
Okay, so that is it for today, folks. Thank you for watching. This is Kyle and Ann with Beard and Warner. We do this show weekly, and I know a lot of you watch us when it is later in the day and not like first thing in the morning. So please still comment on our Facebook pages, even if you watch it after hours, so we can see what you like, what questions you have, and we can bring them up next time. I don't know what we're talking about next week. In fact, are we even going to be on next week? I do know we're talking about doing new construction in the new year as topics in 2021. But if you have any other topics you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. It is our pleasure to see you and talk to you about Chicago real estate. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Take care. Have a great week.